My mom always used to say that Appalachian food is poor people food, and that's what she grew up eating and cooking for us. But I will say that I believe Southern cooking and the Appalachian cooking is some of the best food that you can eat in the world. I love it. And this is one of my favorite dishes. You'd be hard pressed to find something more iconic than country fried steak. A lot of people call it chicken fried steak, cube steak, a lot of other names, but this will always be something that I love and I love to make. It's easy and it is delicious. First of all, a special thank you to Upside for sponsoring today's episode. I just found out about this app called Upside, and I honestly don't know why I haven't found it before. This app literally pays me cash back, real cash back, for items I'm already spending money on, like gas, groceries, and eating out. I just downloaded it, and I'm excited to start using it because honestly, if there's an easy way to earn money back that I'm already spending, I'm all in. So here's how it works. Upside is a free app that gives you real cash back when you shop at over 100,000 gas stations, restaurants, and grocery stores. It's not one of those confusing rewards programs. This is actual money that you can load to your bank account, your PayPal, or even a gift card. And get this, some people are earning up to $300 a month just for using the app. I just set up my account and using it is super simple. You just open the app, find an offer near you like a gas station or a restaurant, claim it, pay as usual, and boom, cash back. I've got an offer showing near me in Rocky Top, so I'm gonna send Whitney out to grab it and let's see how much I can earn. And honestly, this just makes sense. Prices aren't going down, so if I can earn money back on money that I'm already spending, I'm all in. Upside users are earning over $1 million a week in cash back. So if you haven't downloaded the app, you might be missing out. So if you want to earn cash with me, download the free Upside app and use code BATESKITCHEN to get an extra $10 back on your first restaurant or grocery purchase. So just scan this QR code or hit the link in the description and let's see how much we can earn. I'm excited to see how much I'm gonna rack up using Upside. If I'm already spending money, why not earn some of it back? Grab the app, use my code, and let's start earning today. So as with any breaded dish, the first thing you wanna do, you're going to want to have a good buttermilk and egg wash. We're going to start with this so that our steaks can sit in here and it just helps soak that up and get just a little bit more tender. Eggs and buttermilk are great, but a good tablespoon of Frank's Red Hot sauce is just going to kick it up another level there for us. And it's not really going to make it super spicy. It's just going to add a little bit of heat and a little bit to that crust. This is really going to make a difference. I'm gonna set this off to the side and we're gonna start preparing our meat. Now there's a little bit of an argument about where this stuff came from. It's pretty agreed that some folks are trying to make a German dish, a type of schnitzel, which is a breaded veal cutlet in the US, and veal is a little bit more expensive. So as they were across the southern regions, they would use a cheaper cut of meat, coming up with what is commonly known as cube steak. Now, this is mechanically tenderized meat, but it never hurts to go ahead, and people wonder what the pointy end of your mallet is for. This is what it's for. We're going to try to get all this down to anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 inch thick. If you skip this step, then it will be a little tougher inside. Now, some of your old Southern cooks would tell you that the only way to do this is to take a frying pan and beat these things down flat with a frying pan. I think you just get a little bit better with the prongs there than just a flat frying pan, but hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you like it that way, keep it rolling. Now here across the southern US, cube steak is pretty easy to find. If you're at a place where it's not easy to find, it's typically cut off the top or the bottom round of the roast. Thinly sliced, you can use any part of the round roast, the eye of the round, but the top round and bottom round are the best, thinly sliced off, and then just mechanically tenderized. If you have a grocery store that has a mechanical tenderizer, they can run that through for you. If not, this is old trusty, get it down about 1/4 to 1/2 inch thick. Now the next thing we're gonna do, if you want your breading to stick well, you need to dry it. So we're gonna blot all of our water off of here with a good rag or napkin. And before we flip it over to dry the other side, if you really want to up your game of anything that you're breading, go ahead and pre-season the meat. Yes, your breading will have season in it, but this way the meat will actually be seasoned as well. It really does make a difference. These are the little steps that make a big difference when you're making something that you want to stand out a cut above. I'm just using salt, garlic powder, and some black pepper here. Just really simple. And again, everything that I do, I put down in the description to make that easier for you guys. Hop down in the description. Check out the recipe, make it yourself, add your comments. If your mom made one that's your favorite, let me know, and I'll try that one too sometime maybe. Flip it over. We're gonna do the same thing. And that's very common with cube steak. You may see the different coloration of the meat here. It's been exposed to a lot more oxygen and a lot more air because it's been ran through mechanical tenderizer before it got here. So don't be scared about that discoloration as much as you would something else. Now the last step for these, we want to sit about 10 or 15 minutes in this egg wash mixture. So we're gonna go ahead and pile these down in here and get them good and covered before we lay the next piece down on them. The same as if we were doing chicken. And I grew up calling this country fried steak. That's what my mom called it. So that's what I always called it, was country fried steak. But a lot of people also refer to this as chicken fried steak. And there is no chicken in it, but it is one of the common names for it because it's fried like fried chicken. Just make sure all the pieces are well coated and try to get them submerged in the liquid if possible. And then we will set that aside and move to making our dry breading. This is just a typical flour dredge, but I've added some cornstarch to this. Now cornstarch just adds a little bit of extra crunch. It's going to keep that a little bit lighter, a little bit airier, but give it just a fantastic crunch that really makes it stand out. It's a restaurant trick, according to the internet, because I've never worked in a restaurant, but it does make a difference. I'm gonna add a little baking powder. Just lighten it up a little bit. Again, it's all about the crunch. And then our seasoning blend. Again, it's in the description, and let's get this mixed up. Now the next step in this process is very familiar to you if you've ever made fried chicken, or if you've made my boneless chicken wings from the other recipe, then this will be very familiar. Come out of the buttermilk into the breading mixture, the flour mixture. We're gonna pat that down pretty firmly. We're going to flip that over. We're gonna really press that down to get this stuff to adhere, and I will just rake some over using a wet hand and a dry hand here because this is not going to be fun. So we're going over to our wet hand again, back in the buttermilk. We've got a good coating already, but this is what's going to give it that extra crisp. Going back in there a second time and back in this breading. Oh yeah, this is going to be amazing. Such a great shaggy coating. This really gets that just a fluff up. It's going to be so light, so crispy, but so crunchy. There we go. Little trick, save your plates, use wax paper to layer these up, and it will take up a little less counter space for you. There's the last piece there, and let's take these over to our cast iron. Oh yes, that's what we're looking for, that sizzle. So the other reason I use a plate is because generally if I can fit it on the plate, I can fit those in the pan. So it kind of gives me an idea for how many I'm going to fit. And this is just a cast iron dish. That's the way it was intended to be made, in my opinion. And it's just perfect for a cast iron skillet. We'll get those in there. I'm gonna leave these in about 2 minutes. I'm gonna flip these things over. Oh, it's a beautiful golden brown. You can already feel how crunchy it is. So these last 3 in here. Oh yes. Oh, so good. And there we have it. So if you do look back here and notice that there's only 2 country fried steaks in the back, when I started with 3, I've got kids and I'm paying the kid tax. Time to take these off. Oh yes. And we're gonna pour off all but about a tablespoon or so of the drippings. And we're gonna make our sawmill gravy because you can't have country fried steak without sawmill gravy. So sawmill gravy is classic Appalachian. It's a classic Southern food. And instead of the brown gravy, which was more popular, down in the South, people were a lot poorer. They just make with whatever they had. And it allegedly got its term sawmill gravy because it was a logging food out in the logging camps, in the Appalachian logging camps, and they said it tasted like sawdust. I personally think it tastes much better than that. But it's just your fat, your flour. You're gonna cook your flour for about 60 to 90 seconds. We're gonna whisk it around in here and start forming a roux. We'll season our roux with our black pepper, our salt, and a little garlic powder there. It doesn't take long, it'll start darkening up. You go a lot longer with it, it'll turn more brown of a gravy. Now we've got our milk. We'll start whisking that in. This is where you really gotta be on top of it because it'll start forming like a doughy mixture if you aren't careful. You really just have to stay on top of mixing that in. That's the only difficult part of the gravy, but it scares a lot of people off. You can kind of see once you get past that point of danger. And if you let it sit too long there, it'll end up clumpy, but this is gonna be just beautiful. Not a lot of aromatics, not a lot of complicated flavors in a sawmill gravy like this, or a white gravy like this. It's typically black pepper is the major part that just stands out traditionally. We'll turn that heat off, and we are ready to serve a classic Southern dish and one of my favorites. I feel like every time I cook, I say this is one of my favorite dishes because honestly, that's what I cook. I cook my favorite foods. That's why I cook, so I can eat my favorites all the time. But one of my birthdays when I was a kid, Mom and Dad would take us out for our birthday and take us somewhere special that we wanted, and I described for months what I wanted to eat. I wanted to eat a country fried steak with crispy bread and juicy steak on the inside, and they loaded me up and drove about an hour from where we lived to a truck stop that was famous for its country fried steak. I remember little things like that about food that I ate, and food can take you back to your childhood. This is a dish that if you lived in the South or grew up in the South, this is classic Southern cuisine. And it is country fried steak. It's easy, it's crispy, it's cost effective, although the cost of beef keeps going up. And you are going to love eating this. Now, there's a lot of ways you can do this. You can do this for breakfast, lunch, supper. It can be a sandwich. My favorite way is mashed potatoes, green beans, sawmill gravy. It's the classic, but it's also great for breakfast too. If you've ever been to Cracker Barrel, you know that, with grits and eggs and some sausage on the side. Here's the way we do it. You just can't have country fried steak without some sawmill gravy. This is really where it's at. And if you've ever been to an old meat and three, comes with the meat and three vegetables in anywhere in the South, this was probably on the menu. And honestly, this is probably as good as you'll ever eat it. The moment of truth. We've got our crispy breading, and you can feel that. We've got our perfect sawmill gravy, and it is time to taste what we have made. Growing up, I like to eat this with ketchup, but now it's that black pepper gravy. Something about being a dad, you just start loving black pepper more. I don't know what that is. That right there literally takes me back to sitting in a little truck stop booth, eating my birthday dinner, just as proud as I could possibly be with Mom and Dad. This is one of my favorites for a reason. It always brings back memories, but I hope that it becomes a very special dish for you guys as well. Can't wait for you to try it and let me know what you think in the comments.